When Jake returned home from a business trip 2 days early, he thought it would be the perfect surprise for Lily. After months of separation, he couldn't wait to return to her arms. He imagined how surprised she would be when she opened the door and saw him instead of the phone screen with his photos. He was sure that her joy would be immense, just like his own. He arrived at the moment when he was sure that she would not be at home. He knew that she had gone away with her friends for the weekend, but decided to return earlier to arrange a romantic evening and bring back the feelings that he and Lily had always kept for each other. He quietly went into the hallway, took off his shoes so as not to disturb her, and headed for the kitchen. But after only a few steps, the scent of another person was in the air. Jake froze when he heard a strange sound, like a conversation, but with a kind of tense silence. He went to the half-open door and froze. Lily was sitting on the couch in the room, and there was a man next to her. Jake recognized him instantly. It was her colleague Alex, with whom she constantly spent time at work. It was too much to be an accident. The woman he loved was sitting with him, laughing and exchanging some secret glances. What to do? Jake felt his heart tighten. He didn't know what to do. His brain, as if distraught, could not find a logical explanation for what was happening. His eyes, involuntarily registering every movement of Lily and Alex, could not believe what they were seeing. He froze, unable to even move, trying to figure out what was going on. But even worse, Lily had his phone in her hands. He knew for sure that she hadn't used it, as she had left it on his desk the day before. Her fingers tightened on the screen, but Jake couldn't figure out what she was doing with it. It's too suspicious. He quickly stepped back, closed the door and walked quietly to the stairs so as not to attract attention. My head was full of thoughts, but none of them brought comfort. He should have known the truth, but how? Leave it like that. Wait, what happens next? Or try to expose her, check everything yourself? Jake decided that he needed to act, but not rush it. He didn't want to ruin everything until he was sure of his guesses. He knew that he had a difficult path ahead of him. It was necessary to figure out exactly what was going on between Lily and Alec. He knew one thing: it wouldn't be easy now. He had to find out the truth. Jake was sitting on the couch, his hands still clenched into fists. He tried to figure out what to do next. There seemed to be thousands of thoughts in his head, but none of them led to a solution. Lily and Alex, and that moment with her phone. He knew he needed to figure out what had happened. He couldn't believe that it was all true. Lily always said that trust is the foundation of their relationship, but now his trust was bursting at the seams. He couldn't just ask her. No, I should have found out for myself. He got up, went into the bedroom and found her phone on the bedside table. He still remembered how she always left him by her side. Sighing, Jake took it, and his heart skipped a couple of beats when he saw that the phone was unlocked. He was sure that Lily had never left it open. That was the first bell. He flipped through the messages, and there it was. Lines that left no room for doubt. He immediately came across a conversation with Alex. It was inconspicuous at first glance, but the words he read were clear. You promised me that he wouldn't come back sooner. Is everything ready? We can't wait any longer. This message was sent a couple of hours before he came home. Jake felt his stomach clench with rage. His breathing was labored. He didn't know what to do. Take the phone and reveal all the secrets, or leave and not interfere. No, he couldn't just leave. He had to find out everything. Pulling himself together, he went to the next step, to continue the search. He opened the photo tab, and there were several photos taken a week before his return. In one of them, Lily and Alex were hugging in the park. In the other, they were sitting in a cafe, their gazes intertwined at the very moment when it seemed the whole world was disappearing. These pictures was taken on her phone, and if Jake wasn't mistaken, she wasn't home at the time. He realized that everything was happening more than once. It was part of something bigger. But what was it? Why did Lily allow herself such a relationship with Alex if she promised him loyalty? And most importantly, how could he not have noticed it himself? Jake was sitting on the bed, unable to take his eyes off the phone screen. He didn't know how much time had passed, but he didn't care. He had to decide what to do next. He knew that this data was insufficient for a definitive conclusion. But all these little details, messages, photos, conversations, added up to a picture he couldn't believe. Why is that? What is it? He asked himself. He decided to meet Alex. Outside, away from Lily, where they can talk. Jake knew he had to be careful not to give himself away and provoke a conflict. He sent a message to Alex, inviting him to a meeting, ostensibly to talk about work. Alex immediately agreed, unaware of what was coming. When they met in the cafe, Jake felt his fingers clench into a fist and his throat tighten. Alex was sitting across from him with a slight grin, drinking coffee and continuing to pretend that everything was fine. They talked a bit about work, but Jake couldn't stay silent any longer. "You're hiding something from me, Alex," he said, his voice calm but full of menace. Alex didn't immediately understand what he was talking about. He tried to change the subject, but Jake continued. "You and Lily, why? Why did you keep doing this, even knowing that I was on a business trip?" Alex stopped talking. His face changed, and Jake saw his confidence disappear. He tried to justify himself, to say that he didn't want this, that it was an accident. But Jake wasn't listening anymore. He was sure that all the words were empty excuses. All he needed was the truth. "You've destroyed something that I've been building for years," Jake said, getting up from the table. Alex tried to say something in response, but he couldn't change anything. Jake decided that now he would not tolerate any excuses. "You'll pay for this," he said, and left. Upon returning home, Jake felt his heart sink when he saw Lily sitting on the couch with that same expression on her face. She knew that he had found out everything. He came up to her, and without looking up, she whispered softly, "I'm sorry, Jake. I didn't know what to do. It wasn't easy." Jake stood there, not knowing what to say. He was ready for this meeting, but he didn't know if he could forgive her. Revenge or forgiveness? He didn't know, but one thing was clear. It would never be the same again. How do you like the sequel? We can develop this topic further, for example, through his decision, exposure, a decision to break up, or a chance to restore trust. Jake couldn't sleep soundly that night. His thoughts were spinning like a merry-go-round, giving him no peace. He was sitting on the edge of the bed, trying to figure out what to do. Everything was mixed up in his head. Resentment, disappointment, pain, and despair. But what was most important was the lost trust. He knew that he couldn't just forgive everything at once. No matter how much Lily sought redemption, no matter how much she begged him for a second chance, he couldn't just forget. The next morning, when Lily woke up, Jake was sitting in the kitchen, waiting for her to come out. He decided that he needed to talk, not about what had happened before, but about what would happen next. Lily came in and looked at him with hope and caution in her eyes. She knew that her excuses would no longer help, and that her every word would be on the scales. She sat down opposite him, sighed, and began, "Jake, I didn't expect it to be like this. I understand that I've hurt you and that it can't be fixed in one word, but I'm ready to fight for you. For us. Just give me a chance." Jake was silent. He didn't know what to say. Should I answer her with words or take a step back and leave? He understood that whatever he decided would affect his life, hers, and possibly their entire future. "I can't just forget, Lily. You've broken something that can't be undone. But I want to see if I can forgive you. Can I ever forgive myself for not noticing what was going on between you?" His voice was hollow and full of pain. Lily shuddered. Her eyes filled with tears, but she held them back. She knew that now was the moment of truth, and that her future depended on whether she could find the words to convince him. But she didn't know what to say, so that it wouldn't look like an empty attempt to restore something that couldn't be returned. "I'm not asking you to forgive me now. I just want you to know that I'm willing to change everything for us." Jake looked at her, and for a while he just didn't say anything. Emotions were raging inside him. Anger, resentment, disappointment. But somewhere deep in his soul, he knew that if he didn't give himself a chance to figure it out, he would never feel like everything was right. Forgiveness was not as easy as he had hoped, but if he doesn't try to figure it out, he risks losing not only Lily, but also himself. He took a deep breath. "Let's start by being honest with each other. You're not just a mistake, Lily. I don't want to believe that you betrayed me because of something I did or didn't do. But if we decide to move on, we'll need to talk about what happened. And not only about cheating, about what each of us was hiding. Will we be open with each other or not?" Lily nodded, her face expressing determination, but she still wasn't sure what would happen next. She understood that she could not expect miracles, but she believed that Jake was willing to give them a chance, at least once. "I'm ready. I will do everything to make you understand that I really care about us. We won't be able to forget, but we can start building anew." Jake silently got up and went to the window. He stared at the street for a long time where the leaves were slowly falling from the trees. Everything seemed so simple, but his world had turned upside down. The problems won't go away, and maybe the relationship with Lily won't be the same as before. But now he had a choice. Will he be able to restore trust? Or will this situation leave a wound in his heart forever that won't heal? "We need time, Lily. We will need to not only talk, but also act." Over the next few weeks, Jake and Lily slowly began to rebuild their relationship. They didn't live in the same house. Jake still wasn't ready to come back, but he started spending time with her, communicating openly. Every evening, they sat down at the table to talk. Sometimes they were silent, sometimes tears flowed freely, but every word was honest. They went for walks, discussed what led them to this situation. Lily did not try to justify herself, but told how her own fears and doubts caused her to take this step. She explained that her feelings for Alex had never been as strong as her feelings for Jake, but at that moment, she couldn't control her actions. Jake, in turn, was trying to figure out what was missing from their relationship. He admitted that he was immersed in his work, that his attention was diverted from it, but he himself realized that there was no openness and trust in their relationship on which everything is built. They began to work on themselves and on regaining respect and understanding for each other. But was this the first step towards recovery, or was it all just a temporary relief? Jake and Lily were ready to experience everything again, but they realized that they still had a long way to go. It's been a few months. Jake and Lily continued to work on themselves and their relationship. It wasn't easy. Every day was a challenge. There were moments when they doubted they could continue, and others when they felt that maybe everything would be the same as before. But there wasn't the same sincerity and lightness between them that there used to be. They were building a new foundation, but it was shaky and uncertain. Lily tried to be open, to show Jake that she was ready to change herself and her relationships, but it wasn't always possible. Her habits of hiding things, of suppressing them, made themselves felt anyway. Sometimes she saw Jake's eyes, not accusing but full of questions. He still couldn't forget what had happened. And Jake? He tried not to hold a grudge against her, but from time to time his resentment surfaced. He couldn't help but think that if he had been there, if he had been paying attention, everything might have been different. He was ready to forgive, but he doubted that he would ever be able to return to his former relationship. He looked for sincerity in her eyes, but sometimes he saw only emptiness. One evening, when they were sitting on the veranda silently watching the sunset, Lily broke the silence. "Jake, I want you to know, I don't want to lose you. I know I hurt you, and I'm ready to live with that for the rest of my life. But I can't go on if you still haven't forgiven me." Jake looked up at her. She was sincere, but his heart wasn't sure. He felt that something important was missing from their relationship. He didn't know how to put it into words, but he knew that if he didn't decide what to do next, everything would completely collapse. "I can't say that everything will be the same as before, Lily." His voice was quiet but firm. "But I understand that you want to fight. I want to try too, but it's going to be hard." Lily sighed, her shoulders slackening as if she expected the worst. But then she nodded, fighting back tears. "I know it's not going to be easy, but let's at least try, Jake. We can at least start by being honest, even if it's going to be difficult." Jake nodded dumbly. There was pain in his eyes, but also a small spark of hope. He wasn't sure if their relationship could be repaired, but maybe now they could at least start with something real. 10. Meeting with the past. A day later, Jake made up his mind. He knew that he needed to complete this process in order to move forward. He called Alex. Their meeting was inevitable. When Alex came to the cafe, his face expressed tension and uncertainty. He didn't know what would happen next. There was fear in his eyes that he would lose everything. Jake saw this, and at some point it gave him an understanding. Alex was also a part of this story, and maybe he was hurt too. "I don't want to live with this anymore, Alex," Jake said. You knew that you had destroyed, that you had become a part of something that I valued most in my life. But I can't continue like this. Alex was silent. His gaze was hidden, but changes were taking place inside him. He saw how Jake struggled with it, how it tormented him. You're right, Alex finally said. I ruined something important and now I can't do anything to get it back. Jake nodded. He didn't expect any excuses from Alex, but at that moment he felt like he had forgiven him. Although perhaps this was only the beginning of his path to forgiveness. A few weeks later, Jake and Lily decided to move into a new house. They both felt that the old walls, the memories, were part of a life that no longer existed. It was a symbol of a new beginning. Their relationship was still fragile, but they were willing to work on it. Lily started working with a psychologist to sort out her feelings and fears. Jake, in turn, devoted more time to her and himself, trying to figure out how to restore trust not only in her, but also in himself. It was a journey full of questions, doubts, and pain, but it was their path. And only together could they decide if they could return to the relationship they once had. Or maybe they'll create something completely new, more honest, more mature, and more authentic. It's been over a year since Jake and Lily decided to try to start over. Their relationship has changed. There was not the instant restoration of trust that they dreamed of, but there was something much more important. The understanding that every step requires effort. Lily continued to work on herself while undergoing therapy and became more open and honest every day. She has learned not to hide her feelings and fears, and most importantly, not to forget about herself. It was a process in which she realized that her self-esteem should not depend on others, even if it was Jake. Jake, for his part, was no longer fully immersed in his work. He began to appreciate the moments he spent with Lily and learned to listen to her. He was no longer reaching for the ideal they had before. He understood that there is no ideal relationship, but a real one, where there is honesty and openness can be built. They both learned not only to forgive, but also to accept each other with their weaknesses. They didn't have the pure, naive trust that they had at the very beginning, but they created something much more resilient, mature, and enduring. One day, Lily offered to go to the park where she and Alex had been before. It was an important moment for her. She wanted to bring back the moment when she and Jake were just walking in this park, not thinking about the past. Jake agreed, although he didn't know how he would feel. It was a step towards ending a chapter of their lives that was marred by infidelity. They were sitting on a bench next to the very tree where she had once laughed with Alex. I can't say it's going to be easy to forget, Lily said, but I think it's time to put this behind us. We're going to move on, and I want you to know that I chose you. Jake took her hand. He knew that there would be no easy return, and that this wound would not heal completely. But maybe now that they've been through this, they can move forward. I chose you too, he replied, looking at her. But we need to be ready to work on it every day. And although the past would stay with them forever, their relationship was ready to move into a new direction, where there was no room for old mistakes. A year after they decided to try again, Jake and Lily became part of a new reality. The relationship wasn't perfect, but it was real. They moved into a new house, began to build a family life, but did not forget to work on themselves and each other. And although they knew that there would be new trials and difficulties ahead, they were no longer afraid of them. After all, they knew that no matter how hard it was, the main thing was the willingness to move together with love, respect, and openness. Jake and Lily haven't found a perfect relationship, but they've found what's more important. Deep respect for each other, honesty, and a willingness to change in order to preserve what they've built. Sometimes the path to happiness is not straight, but the most important thing is to walk it together.